Right, so we'll get spraying now, yeah?
Yeah. So here we are again in the sprayer. This is something that Ian does every year. I've joined in because I would like to back British farming, and I've got a few questions to ask him in regards to how the decisions are being made at the government to stop British farming completely. The first question would be, can you tell us a bit more about your farm, or if you manage your farm, and how long has it been in that family, and how long have you been managing it for, and what do you actually grow, and what is your typical year? What does it look like for the whole year?
So we're on a 2,000 acre arable farm here. We're growing wheat for bread making and biscuit and animal feed. We're growing barley for animal feed. We're growing oilseed rape, beans, oats, and sometimes peas. We have a big rotation because it's helping for the weed control. It's helping benefit the soil. We're a contractor slash farm. I'm the farm manager here. I've been here for the last 11 years. So the family's been farming for 2, if not 3 generations now. I've been farming, working the land for the last 30 years. Excuse me. So yeah, no, really enjoy it. Farming's changed a lot. You know, there's a lot more environment stuff we're doing now. We're planting hedges, trees, wild flowers and grasses around the headlands of our fields. But you know, we're trying to grow a crop at the end of the day to feed everyone. So there's challenges with that, with the weather, with the government not wanting us to farm, or changing the way we're farming. And you know, they're importing a lot of foods where we don't know how they're grown or where they're from. Most of our wheat goes for milling, but the millers actually import a lot themselves. It's only 40% of British wheat flour in a loaf of bread. The other 60% imported in from Germany, Canada, or wherever, because it's higher in protein, and that's what the millers are wanting. There's nothing wrong with our wheat. It's just that's what the millers are wanting to get the better loaf.
How has your experience as an arable farmer changed over the past few years?
Oh, it's changing all the time with the climate. We go on about climate change, but it's just weather, isn't it? It's changing all the time, so we deal with that, whether it's too dry, too wet, too cold, too hot. Biggest thing is the government changing things, just regulating what we can do, how we do it, trying to reinvent the wheel basically. It's making things very difficult. You know, they don't want us to grow crops. They want us to grow wild flowers for nature and stuff, which is great. I agree on all that, but you know, we've got to live as well. We've got to grow food. You know, we're importing a lot of food in from different countries, and you know, British farming is very good. So you know, we can grow and produce very good crops or animals for meat. So we don't need to be importing as much as we are really.
So that means that the government are affecting you in some way. So the next question would be, do you feel that the current government policies are helping or hurting arable farming? And can you give me an example?
Yeah, I think they're hurting them really. They've brought in this inheritance tax, which is it's a big thing really for farmers that are handing it to the next generation, because that's their livelihood, it's their family, it's their home being passed down. I think it's a tricky one though, because there's a lot of businessmen out there buying up farms and using it as tax relief, which is actually spoiling it for the farmer. And you know, we're doing all this carbon offsetting now to be a carbon neutral country, and it's encouraging the businessmen to buy up land, to put grass down, and then to sort of claim these carbon tax credits back. So they're actually running a carbon or a carbon negative business, really, absorbing their carbon through all this farmland they've bought, and it's affecting the farmer.
Do you think the British public realises how vulnerable the food supply might be without homegrown crops?
No, I don't think they do. I think you know, they go. The public go to the supermarket. The shelves are full and the food's there. Where that food's from is a different story. You know, a lot of that will be imported in, and we'll be relying on other countries to supply our food. If there was ever a war or something and we can't produce our own, then all of a sudden, that's it. The shelves will be empty, and it'll be a shock to everyone.
So, are you encouraged directly or indirectly to switch land use away from food production, such as the rewilding or the environmental schemes? How has that affected your decisions?
Well, it's being affected big time because the government will pay us not to grow crops, and it's quite attractive. You know, if you don't want to grow a crop, you know, if the government are paying you not to grow it, you're going to get paid X amount per acre not to grow a crop. So you can do away with the machinery, do away with the labour, and have an income coming in from not growing a crop. The biggest thing for growing a crop is obviously you're up against the weather. We are dictated what the product is worth at the end of the day. So a wheat crop, you know, it might be worth £250 to us to grow, but actually the market out there, because we're importing a lot in, it might be only worth £150 a tonne. So we are getting dictated a lot by what we're selling, and it's encouraging a lot of farmers not to grow or produce any food, and to put it down as environment, you know, stewardship stuff.
So do you think the environmental and sustainability goals are being fairly balanced with the realities of arable farming? Why or why not?
I don't think it's been very fairly balanced, because there's some people putting down their whole farms in environment stuff. We as farmers, we've lost 400 acres. 200 of that is a whole farm. I don't think that should be allowed. I think, you know, it should be a percentage of the farm. I think we all ought to be doing some environment stuff, put it down 5, 10, 15% of the farm down for environmental, but not 100%. I think you know, it's affecting it a lot, really.
So how important do you think the British grown crops are to national food security, and do you feel the government values that?
I don't think the government value it very well at all, to be honest. British farming is very good. We're up to a high standard. We have checks. We have to stick with you know, whether that's pesticide spraying. Our standards are a lot better than in other countries, but actually the government can import it in cheaper from other countries, which have had all these pesticides, all these antibiotics and various different things to animals. You know, at least in a British product, we know how it's grown and where it's from and the standards it's been living.
So the next question would be, what are your thoughts on international trade deals allowing cheaper imported crops, and how does that affect your confidence in the future of British arable farming?
I think the trade deals, I think there'll always be cheaper food out there, and the damage it's doing to the planet by shipping these foods across the world just so we can have cheaper foods that are housed. If it's an animal, if it's housed like sardines, they haven't got any movement. It's battery farming. Crops, you know, they're full of pesticides that are actually banned in our country, and they're all using them to produce more of a yield of a crop, or growing an animal quicker, and I think it's going to affect it big time if that's the route we're going to go down.
If you could speak directly to the government or policy makers, what changes or support would you ask for to keep arable farming viable in the UK?
Oh, I think the government are trying to reinvent the wheel, really, and I think actually the farmers know what they're doing. and let them get on with it. I think the government really should be supporting that and actually listening to the farmers, and supporting their own country, really.
So there you've had it, everybody, from the horse's mouth. We're looking at what effects will make changes to British farming, and the negative effects the government are making. It's happening, we're not aware of it, but I want everybody to be aware of it. So back British farming. Make sure you drop your comments in the box to see, let's see a difference, what people think. Do we need British farming, or do we not need British farming?